Of course, it beeps at me. Of course. Um, so, story time. This one isn't a true story yet. And I should preface it by mentioning technology that's been in development for a few years already. Please do look up the research where they can just get a scan of the activity of your brain. This isn't like some brain download thing. They can't automatically read every neuron. That's some fantasy sci-fi. But they can see which parts of your brain are active with pretty good resolution. And so these brain scans, a few years ago, they could already put a scanner over your head and show you a video of a parrotfish swimming in tropical waters. And just from the scan, they could reconstruct a video of a parrotfish swimming in tropical waters. That was years already. And you know how AI is doing this. And they can already regenerate your internal monologue, the words you say to yourself in your head. They got that. They can tell if you're lying or remembering something. And for many years already, they could see the activity in the mirror neuron regions, which show when you're empathizing with someone, when you're feeling their emotion within your own chest. They can tell when you're relating to what someone else is experiencing. And that is an easy way to detect psychopathy because psychopaths cannot do affective empathy. They can pass a polygraph because polygraph studies your state of anxiety and they don't get anxious when they lie. But you can very clearly tell if someone's a psychopath because they can't experience affective empathy, which would be a pretty good reason why intelligence agencies should switch from using a polygraph to instead using an EEG scanner on their agents and officers. But they don't because they want the psychopaths to get away with it. So, brain scan technology is advancing rapidly. You don't hear about it because it would empower you. If a government forces you to get a brain scan, that's definitely a dystopia. That's a horror story. If a corporation just gives you a summary of what they decided about your brain scan, that's half dystopia. But what you can get, and I insist, is what's called an open weight network, where they publish the actual neural network weights of the AI. So you can run it yourself on your own hardware and have it independently verified. Just get a scan and tell a lie and see if it registers as a lie, and then tell the truth and see if it registers as truth. So you can verify that it's actually working. And you independently can have your own brain scan, volunteer. If a country tries to outlaw it, then people just go to a different country to get it done. The people who volunteer to get their brain scan are the people who want to testify to the quality of choices and the quality of their compassion to prove that they're not lying when they explain that they're actually good people. So that's critical. That's going to change a lot of things around the world. It's going to mean, among other things, if you get a brain scan and you prove that you're actually a good person, you're trustworthy and honest and reliable, then you're the one who's entrusted to be the human in the loop for the AI systems. Who watches the AI? It's going to be someone who volunteered for a brain scan. And they're probably going to get paid pretty well, and that's a hard job to automate. And they'll be in control of the AI. And people who get their brain scan to prove that they're compassionate, that they're trustworthy, they're only going to date other people who pass the scan too. You don't have to be perfect because no one's perfect. But the critical difference here that I've written about in many essays and described in a few other videos is evil people try to excuse the harm they do. When they harm others, they want to find an excuse to get away with it. Good people, when they do something wrong, they feel bad about it enough to be honest about their faults, empathize with the victim, and make amends. Good people aren't perfect. They just want to make things better instead of getting away with evil. The people who try to get away with the harm they've done are the evil ones. And we'll be able to catch them very consistently. Not because we force a brain scan on them, but because they refuse to get a scan. So if there's two people in a court case, and one of them says, hey, scan my brain while I give my testimony, and the other person doesn't, they don't want to give their testimony under a scan, well, then that person's testimony got validated by the scan, and the other person's testimony didn't. Guess who wins that civil case? I recommend pursuing civil cases first. You'll build precedent. So it's going to affect dating. It's going to affect the job market. It's going to affect court cases. It's radically going to change the entire legal system, because the entire principle of having two lawyers shout at each other falls apart. If you can just give your scan to make your case. Claims of harm done and damages, say it with a scan. We'll see if you're actually traumatized or not. It's that easy. So here's a short story called Halifax. As always, it's never monetized. Search me, look up the title of the essay. Always free to read, just close the pop-up. Halifax, my favorite dystopia. Back in November 2036, Jacoby has been the clear frontrunner, and the numbers we are seeing tonight only serve to confirm that fact. With these states now reporting, we are confident to announce the first presidency of a member of Halifax. It was only 6 years earlier when Halifax formed. The spree of young, successful strivers flying home from Singapore, they wanted to celebrate, to share their stories, to plan. They shook on it, and for them that means a lot. Dubai had pioneered NMRI-assisted interrogations in the early 20s, first testing only for recognition. Have you ever seen this woman? Do you recognize this place? The basal brain ignites whenever it remembers the past, present. The reflex cannot be halted or redirected, unspoofable, laid bare. By 2025, the research publications on brain scans had become few, terse, vague, circumstantial, because all of the important work had gone stealth. Only in 2028 did the patent for Josephson ring resonators ignite that waiting pyre. With cheap gel caps over our heads, we patiently answered every automaton's query. We lay at ease in their inflated lounge as they lick every corner of our minds. That was what we paid them to do. Good men, each of us stumbling over piles of money, bid whatever we could spare at auction just to be first to march home with a scan. Alan, it says here that you fall in the bottom 4% of the population by selfishness. Which isn't surprising, actually. That's what everyone in your contact roster mentions about you. And your maliciousness is there, but only 10%. You get testy sometimes. No aggravated assaults or slow-burning vengeance, so you would be a good fit in various businesses as human in the loop for some very, very expensive AI systems. You are nearly at the minimum for deceptive behavior, which seems to be the case for all of the gentlemen who rushed here first. I'm glad there are still some of you. And you exhibit low submissive traits, well within safe margins for those human-in-the-loop roles I mentioned. We can't write the resume for you, but we at Not a Prick support your efforts to form voluntary associations with like-minded scan recipients. Good luck. Singapore, I kiss you. Halifax took days to vibe, then a few weeks to multiply through the network, with thoughtful discussions settling on the best improvements, updates, mods, the talent density, trust density, and motivation density made the work feel like liquid. The world's biggest water slide, our project's code name. In months, we had the paperwork. By that Christmas, we were celebrating 40% capture of the returning Not a Prick alumni. All of them scheduled, funded, operating, distributing. Soon, honest and thoughtful young folks were unfurling their brain scan certificates, warts and all, before swooning crowds. Those scanites stood silent, no defense of themselves. As the microphone bobbed among lips, those scanites listening to every harsh critique and jab that the audience could muster. It was Halifax's request. Come to town hall and roast the politicians. Our guys were the only candidates who showed up. They listened, laughed along with the stands, and invited the most passionate and thoughtful folks down from that audience. You understand what hurts, and you're passionate about it, Danielle. You're right to criticize how we've been running everything. Will you work with me? Join our team to hear what actually needs to be done for regular folk? None of the campy slogans. We need to sit and listen, long listen, to understand each specific kind of problem. I trust you to do that best. Will you? Those town halls were the fastest recruitment spree in American political history. No political boundaries, no prior policy commitments, just the people who wanted to speak up and wanted to listen and wanted to make things right. The ones you can trust. Those candidates kept winning, and they started corruption investigations of all political stripes and specters. And those investigations brought victories in court, the public nodding in solemn acceptance of the obvious. If a politician won't get a brain scan, then we must take adverse inference, the way they do in civil court. I'd much rather vote for someone I know is honest and good-hearted, who won't exploit their position of power for the sake of their favorite team. The politicians who said they were on my team rarely ever did what I hoped, and they always managed to mangle it horribly anyway. No political parties. I like scanites. The House has been ours for some time. The Senate was a slower process. By 2036, we had the presidency. And so, at the end of January that next year, we announced the new policy. All good welcome. Everyone on Earth who had passed a certified brain scan, demonstrating low selfishness, maliciousness, deceptiveness, and submissiveness, were automatically granted U.S. citizenship. We at Halifax have a lot of math guys on our team. We know exactly how this changes things. With 8 billion people on Earth, the top 2.5% is already 200 million. We opened the floodgates, aggregating parcels of land to erect tent cities for workers, who then used those tools and materials we provided to build their own real cities. A housing boom, a consumption boom, a labor force participation rate boom, a younger population, no fear of creeping arthritic stagnation. Meanwhile, dictators had to post guards at every small harbor in their country to keep Halifax from poaching their best talent. We helped 200 million young, honest, diligent folks leave the worst countries on the planet. It wasn't even a civil war there. The governments simply ceased to operate. Locals gathered in the streets to discuss amongst themselves what to do next. We are the center of industry, entrepreneurship, innovation. Everyone wants to bet in favor of our markets, our companies, because the CEOs are honest. thoughtful. And they don't leech $100 million at a time from the company's capex. The laws are no longer written to favor a political elite. They're written to function. European countries are desperately trying to catch up. Their political blocs each grope blindly to find anyone among their ranks who could actually pass a brain scan. Results don't look good. And in every country, every business, a human stands guard. A human in the loop. Even mob bosses need honest accountants. Our team, Halifax, has the off button of reality an inch under our thumbs. Who else could you trust to keep it there?